Also a civil rights activist. He headed the NAACP, which is a prominent civil rights group.
Last week, students had the once-in-a-lifetime chance to speak with a member of the civil rights movement from the 1950s. Ira Grupper, now 75, passed on what he learned in his experiences with Mr. Fawcett's classes.
Later on, she did understand more. My father, though, was always understanding and very progressive.
Mr. Grupper shared his perspective of civil rights activism as a Jewish man in New York City and how he became involved in a movement that was seeking to help bring justice to minorities who had been forced to live with segregation.
How do you think we should address that?
In addition to learning about his past, students were able to ask Mr. Grupper questions and interact with the civil rights veteran.
The way that this stuff manifests itself in two manners. One is overt, blatant, and the other is more sophisticated.
Even though at times Mr. Grupper faced jail time and death threats, he persevered and fought for the rights of African Americans across the country. In his eyes, it was his way of protest, and he was not going to let jail time stop him.
That was the death threat of the Ku Klux Klan. That was the threat to murder. 6 months later, Mr. Damon was dead.
What do you think today's society can learn from the past in the civil rights movement?
Somebody once said, if you don't learn from history, you're condemned to repeat it. And the civil rights movement consisted of sisterhood and brotherhood and a cohesive, unified approach to dealing with a tremendous problem, endemic problem of racial segregation. And we will repeat it. We are repeating it now. You don't get anything without fighting for it. You don't get to keep what you fought for unless you continue to fight for it.
I learned about racial equality and how it's more severe and our textbooks don't really cover it and kind of just generalizes it. So it was very interesting to learn it.
I learned a lot about the development of racial tensions and the activists in the civil rights and labor unions.
Mr. Grupper left the students at Ballard with words of wisdom and hopes to create a better world with the help of a new generation.